Are now facing federal charges in connection to the death of Breonna Taylor. The U.S. Attorney General finding mistakes were made before the shooting and a cover-up and lies were presented after. Now, a reminder of what happened in her apartment that night. Our focus team using 911 dispatch calls, police records, and witness interviews to piece it all together. Civil unrest on Louisville city streets. Weeks of protest, calls for change. But how did we get here? To understand, we have to go back to Thursday, March 12th. Judge Mary Shaw signs off on 5 warrants as part of a large narcotics investigation. 3 warrants were for properties on Elliott Avenue in West Louisville. Detectives wrote they were looking for drugs, weapons, electronics, and mail related to illegal drug activity. A 4th warrant was for a house on Muhammad Ali. And then this warrant for 26-year-old Breonna Taylor's South Louisville apartment. How was Taylor connected? She wasn't the main suspect in the case, but she was named on the warrant. Detectives say in January of this year, they witnessed their main suspect, Jamarcus Glover, arrive at Taylor's apartment, go inside, and then come back out with a package. Police say Glover then got into his car and drove to the Muhammad Ali address, which the detective called a known drug house. The warrant goes on to say that a U.S. postal inspector verified that Glover had been receiving packages at Taylor's apartment and that it is not uncommon for drug traffickers to receive mail packages at different locations to avoid detection from law enforcement. Detectives also wrote they believe Glover may be keeping narcotics or proceeds from the sale of narcotics inside Taylor's apartment for safekeeping. On the night of March 12th, Detective John Mattingly and several others were briefed on the plan. Mattingly says he drove by Taylor's apartment around 11:45 to scope it out. And then, around 12:30 on the morning of March 13th, officers parked in front of Breonna Taylor's building and walked up to her door.
When SWAT was doing their thing down at 2-4 in Madison, we went over, or Elliott, whatever it was, we executed ours at the same time.
About 10 miles away, officers executed a warrant at a different property on Elliott Avenue. There, police found their main suspect, Glover, and arrested him. Around 12:40, officers began to bang on Taylor's door, setting into motion the events that eventually led to her death.
I went in bed. It's a loud knock at the door.
The detectives say they knocked on the door multiple times.
I knocked on the door, banged on it. We didn't announce the first couple because our intent was not to hit the door. Our intent was to give her plenty of time to come to the door because they said she was probably there alone.
But Taylor wasn't there alone. According to her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, he and Taylor were in bed watching a movie when they heard the knocks.
So it's a loud bang at the door. She pops up out of sleep. It scared her to death. Me too. Like, who is that?
Walker says they jumped out of bed, started getting dressed, and he grabbed his gun. At the same time, detectives took a battering ram against the door.
The door comes off the hinges. So I just let off one shot. I still can't see who it is or anything.
But Detective Mattingly says he saw them.
I'm face on about probably 20 feet away, right down the hallway. There's a bedroom door on the right, and there's the male and a female. The male's closest to the door, so he's to my right. And as I turn the doorway, he's in a stretched out position with his hands with a gun, and as soon as I clear, he fires. Boom.
Walker says shots started flying. He fell to the ground and dropped his gun. Mattingly was shot.
As soon as the shot hit, I could feel the heat in my leg. And so I just returned fire. I got 4 rounds off. And it was like simultaneous. It's boom, 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 boom.
The detective says he fired 2 more rounds and then told other officers he'd been shot. It was called over the radio at 12:43 a.m., according to a CAD report provided by the mayor. Detective Miles Cosgrove fired shots from inside the apartment. Brett Hankinson blindly fired 10 rounds from outside through a patio door, according to his termination letter.
They're just shooting, we're both on the ground, and then when all the shots stop, I'm panicking. She's right there on the ground, bleeding.
Records show 3 neighbors called 911 at 12:42, reporting shots near their apartment. 5 minutes later, after calling his mom, Walker dials 911.
911, Operator Harris, where's their emergency?
I don't know what's happening. Somebody kicked in the door and shot my girlfriend.
Okay, where are you located?
I'm at 3003 Springfield Drive, apartment 4.
3003 Springfield Drive, apartment number 4?
Yes. Oh my God.
Okay, how old is your girlfriend?
She's 26. Bring it. Oh my
You said 26,
God.
where was she shot at?
I don't know. She's on the ground right now. I don't know.
Meanwhile, officers rushed to the scene on word of an injured detective. Officers on scene put a tourniquet on Mattingly's leg as they wait for EMS.
At some point, EMS shows up. It seemed like forever. I don't know how long it took.
Mattingly was rushed to University Hospital where he went into surgery. According to the Taylor family attorneys, 120 LMPD officers went to the complex in the hours after the shooting, but no one went into the apartment to provide aid to Taylor until Walker was called out.
I'm still yelling help because she's over here like coughing and like I'm just freaking out. But I'm on the phone with her mom now at this point. So they keep yelling, come out. So I'm like, okay, it's the police.
Walker says police told him to drop his phone, so he does. And then he walks backwards to the officers.
Yeah, I'm doing everything they're asking me to, slowly and surely. Like, I'm like scared to death.
Walker surrendered to police as SWAT moved into the apartment, finding an unresponsive Breonna Taylor on the hallway floor. Walker was arrested at the scene and taken to LMPD headquarters, where he was interrogated for several hours, the interview wrapping up around 5:30 in the morning.
Like, I literally don't understand this at all.
Yeah.
I have no reason. Like, I don't understand at all why they would be knocking on her door unless it was a mistake. Like, at all. And I asked that out there a million times, like, why were y'all even at the door? Nobody had an answer.
That's what we're here to figure out, man.
Walker was charged with attempted murder of a police officer, a charge that was later dismissed. Later that day, LMPD briefed the media about the incident.
Victim who died is, we're still working through what her involvement was on the narcotics investigation, and her identity will be released by the coroner's office at a later date.
As police briefed the media, the Public Integrity Unit searched through Taylor's apartment. Getting a warrant right after the shooting, they spent much of the day collecting evidence, including blood, hair, fingerprints, clothing, guns, and electronics. 2 days later, on Sunday, March 15th, we first learned the name of the victim, the Jefferson County coroner identifying her as 26-year-old Breonna Taylor.